last month. Being a child of, oh, this is not the first slide. Being a child of God, yes. So what does this mean? So when I look at my faith, hold on. So, also, can I have someone record? Because I'm going to do this as a vlog. I want to share this with young people. Tim? Yeah. Okay. So, when I look at your parents, the biggest thing they've taught me is what it means to be a child of God. And to keep it simple, it's someone who can receive and give love. That's a mature person, to keep it down to the basics. And when I look at your parents' life as to how difficult it was, what kept them going was their love. They didn't do it out of obedience or fear or whatever it may be, but because they loved God so much, they could overcome many difficulties. So I was pondering this as I experienced a lot this week. So we all know divine principle, right? And we know the purpose of our life is to live in joy, to be happy, to be free, right? This is the principle that many people don't know. And sometimes we don't see it within our day, at least for me. It was hard to see throughout this week. So I know this principle, and then what happened this month? It was like this. This is the hardest month of my life. Oh my God. I never cried to God so hard. Where do I start? I mean, to summarize it, you look at the pictures, right? So this week, right, or this past month, I was working on my clothing brand project, as you guys know, and it was all of September just sitting 6 hours a day on my desk, learning business, learning design, thinking of my strategy as to how I want to reach out to young people, especially Christians, because that's where my heart is at after coming back from mission, like seeing young people discover the truth along with that experience, the love that we had within our environment. But then I came to realize I was not finding joy in my life. Actually, I felt like I was suffering despite me knowing this principle. And why was that happening? Was it because of my environment? Was it me? So I had to really take a deep look at myself. So I'm gonna walk you through a few events that happened throughout this month. And it starts with my clothing brand, right? So I opened up my first website after hours and hours of designing my shirt. This is the shirt. I'll talk about it more. But what happened was, and Tim, can you come a little to the front too? Like in my back angles. I'm gonna post this online. There's a testimony. But essentially, I invested everything and little to nothing came back. And I was heartbroken. Like I gave up so much sleep, so much of my free time just to like release this shirt. And no one received it the way I wanted to. The way I wanted it to be received. Right? There was so much meaning and depth too behind the shirt. So I was heartbroken to not being received. And on top of that, I had this event, or actually, I was practicing these teachings at home because my goal is to embody Hyojung every single day. And every single day it got harder to love, actually. And I was asking myself, why is it so hard to love my family, whether it's my siblings or my parents? So I was really challenged by God to practice this teaching. And I had a few victories, which I'll share about. But the biggest thing I learned was that, hold on, slide, was that I didn't know God's love for me. Yeah, that's why I was suffering a lot throughout this week. So I was going through a lot of challenges at home, whether it's with my parents and learning to forgive myself and recognizing my mistakes and giving unconditionally to my siblings. And then I was breaking down because for some reason throughout the week it became harder to work. Like all this emotion was starting to stir up within me. And I was asking myself, why is this happening? Like I'm working so hard for God, trying to reach out to Christians, trying to share a message through clothing, through my passion of fashion. Yeah, I feel like I'm dying. It's like, am I back in the wilderness course or what? Like what's going on? So I decided I just want to be silent, to be still. I don't know why, but this something came to my mind as I was meditating. God just told me, be still for this week. Even though I was so angry, I wanted to hurt so badly. So I went out to Pennsylvania, and I knew this was God taking me out of my environment because I went to drop off my mom at her leadership event for Women's Federation. So I was wondering, like, what does God want to teach me here? So I was just silent. I remember the morning we came to the church, I was just listening to the mothers who came because I was really looking for love because I lacked a lot of it at my current state. So as I was driving, Tim noticed I was struggling, asking me how I'm doing. And, I was just like, no, I'm okay, I'm okay. I don't want to share. But my heart was broken at this moment. So I was really seeking God, holding on to God. Like I'm holding on to these teachings, but it feels impossible to practice them. So throughout the trip, I decided I want to go fundraising because I don't like to stop. Like even though I'm struggling, like I don't stop moving. So I'm going to fundraise God, like even though nothing is going right with my business. So we went out fundraising, and 8 hours, I made little to nothing. And that usually doesn't happen. Usually does not happen. And I was curious as to what is God trying to teach me here. And then once again, God was telling me, I need you to be still. So the next day, we were in our motel. Oh, and I want to go back. So we ended up having to get a motel because there was a few things that came up. We couldn't use the van to fundraise. So we had to find a different way, which is Uber. But then I ended up spending even more money than I intended to spend at the trip. And then you can imagine I woke up in the motel, and guess what? There was no breakfast. I was every single challenge was being thrown at me to complain and to lash out at God. And I just was holding on, just silent. Just be silent, Jacob. Receive it with gratitude. I wanted to blame someone or accuse. So I had to hold it within. This is the biggest test of my faith. It's interesting. It was easy for me to receive rejections on the front line, but for me to reserve what was within my heart was even harder. So I was like, no breakfast. And then I had to spend money on Ubers. So I came back to the van. I came back to the motel after 8 hours of fundraising. We both scrubbed out. And I just decided I wanted to surrender to God. Like, God, tell me what's going on in my life. Because nothing is going right, even though I'm trying my best to practice the principle intentionally. So I went outside and I called an auntie from GPA. And I had the biggest realization is that actually I was rejecting God's love. I was rejecting God's love. And what that mean was because of the many difficulties I was experiencing within my life, I was falling victim to my circumstances. Because God never left. He was always there, but I was rejecting the love. So this is where I had to understand and to be still and know that I am God. So after I called that auntie, I was just crying on the field, just like apologizing to God. Like, I'm so sorry I hurt you. Like, you can imagine being in a position of a parent and your child is rejecting you. And I'm sure it hurts a lot. So, and this is where I experienced the principle of learning that I'm not alone, because God told me to reach out to my brothers and sisters. This is the best gift God gave us, a holy community. And this is where I can open my heart to Timothy. I feel Timothy was such a gift to this trip because I could just pour everything out and I can receive his wisdom. And I never experienced the spirit of the heavenly mother before in my life. But this is where I experienced it within this trip. Because, if you guys know Timothy, he's a really good listener. He understands, he processes your emotions, and then he has guidance as well, which I was struggling to receive, but it allowed me to have a higher perspective as to what was going on within my home. So this whole experience was a realization that the reason why I struggled to receive God's love is because I struggled to receive my parents. And it hit me hard. And with that, I was making this testimony. It was so frustrating because I wanted to be the victim in the story to say, I had every right to blame or point a finger at someone. That they did this, they did that. But what I wasn't recognizing was how much my parents were trying to love me, actually. Because, I've been with Heroes on Culture, I'm working to expand my relationship with both my mother and father. Because we have such a difficult family history, honestly speaking. So if I want to expand this teaching to other young people, I have to practice it myself. So I was reaching my limit within my own household because it was so hard because I felt my efforts weren't being recognized, even though I was trying. And this is the test, like how unconditional can you be, Jacob, if no one is seeing you, your efforts? And then I realized, dang, even with my dad recently, we were driving, and my dad, he loves to talk about technical things because he's always thinking about my future. He's like, Jacob, when are you going to buy a car? You need to buy a car. And I hate it all the time. I don't want to buy a car. I want to save my money. But I had to realize that's my dad's love language. It wasn't him trying to push me to do something, but it was him trying to love me. I remember we were recently driving, and my dad was trying to talk to me, but I was so stuck within my emotions that I couldn't recognize him trying to love me. And I was just thinking about so many experiences where my parents were loving me. Like, oh, my dad even did the dishes for me. My dad does not do that, but I was about to do the dishes and he comes up and he's like, no, no, Jacob, I'll do it. I was like, oh. But I couldn't recognize that until I was making the sermon. And even with my mom too, there were so many things she was trying to do. Like even with the event, I was so angry, but I was like, oh, she's doing her best. So God really taught me I had to recognize like my parents, and this is where filial piety is, which is simply awareness of parents. And this is the same thing, realization I had when I was talking with Timothy, because I really wanted to play victim. So with that, I was struggling to love myself in the end, even with the business adventures, because I was dealing with insecurity. I was overthinking as to why nothing is going my way, even though I did my best. But I wasn't giving myself credit for what I was doing, because when I can't love myself, of course I can't love others. So this month, I really just sat in front of True Parents' picture, because I had a lot of anger in my heart. So I knew it wasn't safe for me to talk to anyone, especially my parents. And I just sat in front of True Parents' picture and just bawled my eyes out. And you know what God told me? What? He said, stay as long as you need to. It was crazy. Like, wow. Like, God's love is so perfect and unconditional and patient, even though I was rejecting it. So with this experience, hold on. The biggest thing that spoke to me was this quote from Mother of Peace. She says, some become pessimistic, feeling that no matter how hard they try, they can't get ahead, and that society is at fault. But they need to take an honest look at how much effort they have actually made. Complaint and distrust will not get us far. Young people need to follow a virtuous path of sacrifice, service, and love. There was so much complaint within my heart. Like, I really wanted to give up on the brand. I wanted to give up on the teachings of divine principle, because it's so hard to practice unconditional love on a daily basis. And you don't get to see any of the results too. So this was the breakdown I needed to find conviction in my faith, because this was the hardest experience I had in my life, to continue practicing what I've learned these past 3 years, now in a home setting, which is even more difficult. So after seeing how Mother was talking to me through this, I came to realize that this is what filial piety is about, developing awareness of your parents. It doesn't mean that I can't have my own needs or wants, or to say that I can't say no, but to simply understand my parents are doing their best. And when I understood that, I was just crying last night. Like, man, like, I know they're children of God as well. Like, I had to recognize that. And with that recognition, I could find a lot of gratitude behind this whole difficult experience, turning it from an experience of resentment to gratitude. So this is something I'm trying to pioneer within my family, because it's very difficult. As I realized that the past tends to come back. And with that, how do I react to it? So more than ever, I had to practice this message I'm trying to preach. And not preach, but share it to the world. Because the reason why I want to break through in this is because I see that this can be the change for many young people. Because heaven starts within the family. And more than ever, I felt that when Uncle Abernathy and Uncle John Jackson came to speak, and they talked about how everything you learn is within the family. So I'm learning to unlearn behaviors, to not be so defensive towards my parents, like to be humble towards God's perspective. And it's okay to still disagree, but I was understanding that this is a process of growth. I don't know why. I was studying divine principle during the motel night, and the process of growth stuck out to me, because I expect things to change just like that. But the reality of the family is that it takes time. So I really had to look within myself to say, yeah, I can't change anyone but myself. And I had to wrestle with my heart, even though I wanted to hurt so badly. So I'm glad I was able to maintain silence, because there was actually many victories behind this experience, which I want to share. So this is where my huge victories for this whole month, because I was such in a down state, but I was like, wow, I was trying so hard. Like, I made a cleaning schedule for my family, because me and my siblings don't clean too much, as I was trying my best to help my mom. So for 2 weeks, I was able to stick to it. And I wasn't consistent, but I'm working on it. I'm growing that habit. I was massaging my dad's head. I do not like massaging people, but I was like, okay, let me try to serve him in a way I don't usually do. I was like, okay. I was spent in the small moments throughout my day, I'll talk to my mom and dad. Just small talk, like, oh, how's your day? Or, Dad, how was work? It's really hard to find a common base with my dad, because he gets into politics, and I'm not trying to get into that. So I was like, okay. How's your day? We'll just keep it at that. And sometimes he would share his experiences with true parents. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So I'm experimenting. Taking my siblings out for dinner. This was I don't have the picture, but it was a fun experience to see my siblings smile. We haven't sat down for dinner in a while together, but we would just talk and share. And my sister talked so much about the movie she was experiencing or she was watching, even though I didn't understand it. I was like, okay, this is the most my little sister has ever shared in her life. So it was so fun to see that. Another one, playing video games with my sister. Like Layla, we game here and there, and it's the way we bond. Another one was teaching my cousin English. I remember as I was building my clothing brand, I would spend time to just teach him some English as he wants to get into the workforce. So I would spend certain amounts of time to help him. And then eventually, out of nowhere, he turned out to be a very good videographer who helps me now with my videos and my clothing brand. So like I was seeing the principle working because I never expected him to be a videographer. But just through me helping him naturally, he came to help me with everything I do with my brand. Next, getting my mom Panera bread, doing the dishes, cleaning the bathroom, apologizing for not sticking to my commitments. It was not easy to apologize, but I'm learning like this is what it is to live in the family, like to build the kingdom of heaven. Recognizing the love of my parents through the sermon and giving my sister a hug. Oh, that was so uncomfortable. I have to tell you guys. Oh, I did it one day and I haven't done it ever since. She looked at me so weird because, it's not something you do, but I'm learning to stretch my heart. And it's tough because sometimes I don't see it being reciprocated, but now I'm being challenged to be more and more unconditional. So more than ever, God was telling me to say, Jacob, you're doing your best. Like, look at what you've been doing. And there's so much more. So this brand has been encouraging me to practice love within my household because I find it's not a coincidence that I'm able to do this at home. Like, because I'm working at home, I can build more relationships with my family, and I can naturally try to witness to them. So I want to talk about my brand now. Like, why did I start Filial Voice? Because more than ever, everything became clear as to how I want to move forward. Like, God was testing me on my commitment to this. And True Mother is my biggest role model. And I went to Korea and experienced so much love through the beauty in Cheongpyeong. Next, I experienced what it means to be one family under God. If you see this team of mine, there's Asians, I'm African, there's an Indian, and there's a Brazilian. But we never saw each other from that perspective. We were just brothers and sisters. And from there, we could achieve so much victory in Zambia through our unity. So this is my greatest experience as to what it means to be one family under God. And then lastly, God's creation and modeling. So the whole goal of my brand is to share a culture of Hyojung. You guys know when I was designing my logo, I had no idea how to design. So I was trying to figure out what do I do with the F and the V. But when I put it together, it made an H, if you guys look at it. Yeah, and it was shocking. And this was the time after Maggie came to give a sermon about Hyojung culture. When she spoke about Hyojung, it spoke to my heart. Because this term filial is something I resented my whole life. I hated obedience. I come from a very strict household. And, when I went to Zambia, it was a very restorational experience because I saw the standard I had within my home, and I didn't like it. Like, the kids we were taking care of were held to a high standard, even though they were new to their faith. And I was like, this is not love. They deserve compassion, empathy, and understanding. Like, any small mistake was reprimanded within that moment. So I didn't have much compassion in my life. And even my relationship with God was done out of fear, which is why I hated filial. I resented it more than anyone could imagine because I know what it meant. And I saw what it did to those around me, my friends, family, siblings, and so forth. So when Maggie spoke about this, how filial was actually supposed to be something you do joyfully with no feeling of sacrifice, then that really was what Hyojung was. And it was funny, I was talking to Uncle Takanaka yesterday. He's very humble and sharing his experience in business, and he says it's not a sacrifice. He does it joyfully. And that was the message I needed to hear, because this is what I was lacking. So the reason why I chose this brand Filial Voice is I want to share to other young people the beauty behind Hyojung culture, that a relationship with God shouldn't be fearful, because more than ever, young people do not like truth, because they've been hurt by the church. They've been hurt by their families. Even the ones I was captaining, they always talked about their parents, and all I can do is empathize with them. Like, I know how it feels to not be accepted for doing your best, and I'm sure your parents had their best intentions. Because when you're a captain, you're just restoring that relationship with their parents. You're trying to be the parent they didn't have, because that's what GPA was to me. I had so many parents, so many people I could talk to, alleviate my heart, and I experienced so much grace. And that's what changed me. It was the love, not the truth. The truth came through the understanding of the love I was given. So that's why GPA was so transformational, because I couldn't handle my family back then. But now I can come to a place of acceptance. So like they did their best, and there's no one I resent or no one I blame. I take responsibility, because we're all children of God. So this is what I want to share with Young culture, because more than ever, like young people are leaving their homes and they don't know where to turn to. The reason why people go to bars and drink and smoke is because they want to run away from their problems at home. In Zambia, actually, thousands of young people at night go to the bars. It's crazy. But during the day, everyone acts like the goody two-shoes. And it's a reflection of the culture, unfortunately. Very high standard, but there's not so much realness and sincerity in relationships, because children feel afraid to show themselves. And that's what I experienced with my guest. They always talked about their relationships with their parents. So I found a new way to witness. And the new way to witness is to share how my reality and where I'm at. Because people don't want perfection. They want connection. And that's what God told me. If I'm going to win young people's hearts, I need to show what is going on within myself. Be honest and be real and show them how I'm working towards the goal that your parents have shown me, which is a family that embodies love. Because it wasn't easy this week. I really wanted to give up more than ever in my faith. So, filial voice, right? So this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to show principle in a fashionable way. Because the sad part about the fashion industry is that people are using it for money. There's so much greed in the industry. Like I know there's ways I could easily make so much money off of this, but I chose that I want to provide quality. I want to provide a message that can change people's lives. So you guys imagine divine principle on clothing in a very natural way. So I'm promoting family values, the values I'm fighting for within my own home every day. And so this shirt, there's so much meaning to it. You see this cool picture? I love this because it's me and my siblings in front of the family pledge. And there's so much depth to this culture that your parents have created. So I even want to talk about the shirt right here. So my journey, right? So it's love God, love people, and love the world. Yeah. And this was the order in which I learned to develop my relationship with God. Because I didn't have a place to love people, honestly speaking. As I came out of my home environment to GPA, I couldn't think of others. So I had to, study and then go on the front line and have crazy experiences, making $1,000 and so forth. But it was after my 3 years that God became down to earth. When I was taking care of the kids in Zambia, I had to know God is within this person right here. If I want to love God, I have to love my brother and sister. I have to love my parents, which is why I chose this path, because it's the hardest. But if I can break through in it, a guy who's been in the most strict household that I'll say, pretty strict household, and with a high standard, then I want to give young people hope that they can do it too, and that their parents are doing their best. Because when I talk to my friends, it's always a common base about our parents. But what I was excited about, yesterday I called my friend, and we committed to this call after GPA as to how we can develop our relationship with our parents. So we called yesterday, and he has so many breakthroughs. I was so happy with it for him. Like he's talking about how he's breaking through with his dad and his mom, and how he's learning to love his siblings. And he also encountered a situation in his home where he felt misunderstood. But we're encouraging each other to continue to love our parents and to continue to love ourselves as we try to navigate through our family to build this culture. So I came to find it's okay that I can't have all my needs met by my parents, but the beauty is that's what we have a community for. Because I felt this community was the village I needed to become the man I am today. I can call Uncle Chris anytime, and I'm sure he'll pick up. Or Auntie Gloria or Uncle Takanaka, and so much more. But this whole experience was me being embraced by God through the community. Like I called Cowrie, Timothy was there. I called my auntie from GPA. Everyone is just a phone call away if I need him. And that encourages me to practice love even more. And I'm fine with that. So this is the culture I really want to share. And if young people can know that there's a community out there for them, I really believe this can save their life more than ever. Because they're not looking for truth. They're looking for love. And it's an experience. So throughout this whole experience, I was just meditating a lot. And the Bible is so practical. It's really just the family is a school of love. That's all it is when you go from the Genesis story to the end. So I really want to show my imperfections to the world as I'm posting myself more on media. And I want to show you this video because ever since I got back, I've been busy. I'm making video after video as I'm trying to break through on social media because I really saw it in Zambia. If I can make Mother go viral overnight or our movement, then really believe we can really share the principle to half of the continent over the internet because that's where the power is at, the internet. So now I'm not the only one taking the risk on the internet, but a lot of my second gen friends are too, as we're pushing forward and witnessing through this new style. So I'm fighting for this breakthrough every single day with videos. So this video was the breakthrough I had after I gave this testimony about True Father, if you guys remember. And it was a video where I shared about how I'm learning to practice love within my home through simply doing the dishes. And I got 3,000 views, 300 likes, and on top of that, it was mainly Christians who were reposting my content. And I talked about the Mother of Peace. So I want to show you the video as to what it's like. Can you press it, Nathan? Oh, volume.
Growing up, I had devout parents who always emphasized having a strong prayer life, which became my way of experiencing God. But as I got older, I found it easier to pray than to do any kind of chore, which was dead faith. All words, no action. So when becoming a missionary, I was faced with this bad habit. Because despite the big service projects I did, there was still a plate to wash, a toilet to clean, and a floor to sweep. My mindset towards cleaning changed after reading this quote from the Mother of Peace, where she says, "A filial child has the spirit of serving and is welcomed everywhere. Such a child always fulfills God's hope." Through this teaching, I came to understand that I could make God, my parent, happy through serving my brothers and sisters around me in the smallest of ways. So now, chores have become a daily gateway for me to love God and love those around me, because God is found behind the heart of wanting to serve others selflessly.
So, so, like, after I saw this breakthrough, I was like, wow, this is only the beginning. Like, young Christians just want practicality in their faith. They don't want deep teachings about Jesus going on the cross and so forth, but they want to know how can they fix what's going on within their lives. So as I'm pioneering my own problems at home, I hope to find breakthroughs because young people have a deep place within my heart. Especially as I had a friend recently who told me he was about to kill himself. And after that, it really made me think as to why is there young people that don't want to live in this world? I was crying that night after my close friend from high school told me that. And he talked about his relationships at home. It's always at home. So after Reverend Abernathy's talk, I really felt empowered to be committed to this mission because more than ever, I wanted to quit with this month. But after all these experiences, I feel even more empowered to move forward, to testify to what I'm trying to build at home. So I'm excited, I'm scared, and I ask for your guys' encouragement because I'm stepping out in faith. A lot of people who knew me on social media are seeing me from school friends to my Muslim friends to everyone, but I'm coming out to say like Mother is my role model, and I really want to take care of her because she saved my life. I had no purpose, no meaning, and most importantly, no love in my heart, but she gave me a family, and she showed me that there is hope in my life. So if I can bring that to others, then I feel my life will bear the most fruit because I feel more than ever Mother needs me, and I can't just let her stand alone. So it's scary. I can't lie to you guys. I'm scared. I'm insecure many times as I post a video. But from the beginning, I always carried this habit to, before I post a video, I go to the Chamshum one and offer it to heaven. I actually have one video I'm going to post today about the first blessing. I'm excited. But yeah, I'm committed, guys. There's no turning back. And I'm going to continue to practice these teachings in my home. It's unconditional love. It amazes me how two parents did it. So yeah, this is the quote that sticks with me to this day. The years of our youth are the best time to dedicate ourselves to exciting goals that make our hearts beat faster since our youth is brief. It is important to do this without delay. We don't want to be left in regret. We need to set good goals and know who to partner with to achieve them. If we do not live vigorously and create our own path, we will end up sinking in despair and envy. So yeah, to close up the sermon, it's just everyone is a child of God. And hopefully one day I can bring my sisters up here. It could be a testament to say how much I love. So I'm fighting, guys, and it's not easy, and I ask for your guys' encouragement. Maybe I might need a rant to some of you uncles or aunties, if you could give me the chance, but yeah, I'm just fighting to embody Hyojung. It's a long-term investment. I have 7 months to win their hearts, so let's see where it goes. And also, I'm going to be selling some of my clothes today after service for $25. I really ask for your guys' support, as I didn't do too well on this drop, but I don't make any money from this business, as I reinvest everything, as I want to provide higher quality because I'm competing with so many other Christians. But I really feel I have something to give with my message. That's the power behind it. I have an experience behind this brand. So I ask for your guys' support. Even if not a shirt, a donation helps. But I'm not going to give up. I'm determined. I'm going to find a way, and I'm going to break through. So thank you.